So this is video 64 and I didn't record anything during the week. I was quite busy with writing more of my translations from Belarusian into English, and I think from Russian into English, and I practiced I try to practice the career paths by listening to the audios that go together with the textbooks, and trying to read the main texts in each lesson, and then somehow to retell this text, maybe creating the questions to the sentences or trying to rephrase the sentence itself. Anyway, I didn't have much time and desire to record videos with me talking in English because, well, I tried to speak in English during the week without any recordings. So now is the weekend, so I can spend a week doing this stuff. Anyway, I decided to start with the couple of translations that I did during the last week. And the first one is not very cool for me, but I translated it, so I'm going to start with it. This is Белая береза by Yesenin. Okay, let's see. Underneath my window, the white birch stands pale, coated by the snow dust like the silver veil. All its fluffy brushes of a whitish tinge flourish on the branches like the snowy fringe. And the birch stands peaceful, like a praying dame, and the snowflakes glitter in the golden flame. And the lazy morning, making the bypass, covers all the branches with the silver dust. As I can understand right now, my English is very slow and it's very, it's very rough to read even my own translations, because I can't go with the rhythm quite well to give the feeling of the translation. So it's better to read these texts by the readers themselves, the way they can pronounce it in their heads, or the way they can, especially if these readers are native speakers, they can pronounce it quite well and feel the way I feel the translation when I create it in my head, but when I read it aloud, it's not very cool. But some time ago, maybe a year ago, I couldn't read it at all, and I couldn't even create this stuff this type of translations. But now I can do this after spending some time on this activity. Anyway, this is the small translation of Pushkin from his Eugen Onegin «Тот год осенняя погода». It was the longest rainy season, as if the nature quenched its thirst. The winter idled with no reason in January on the 1st. It only snowed. Well, that's not bad. And next goes my masterpiece. I think, as I described it to my friends, if Wait for Me, I'll Come to You was evaluated variation value. No, maybe was estimated as 10 out of 10 by myself. And Wait for Me, I'll Come to You was my best translation and my favorite poem, even though it was my kind of first translation. But after my friend's editing of this poem, I can give it 11 out of 10. And I translated another poem. Now it's the poem Погоня by Maxim Bogdanovich, and I estimate it as 12 out of 10. So I think it's my masterpiece, and I don't think that I can find a more impressive poem in original language, and then to translate it, saving the spirit of the poem the way I managed to do it with Погоня. Anyway, let's go. Once my heart will become very frightened of the fate of that homeland of mine, then the saint gate of dawn and the riders on the horses will come to my mind. The white horses rush forward insanely, they whiz badly, they hurry, they trot. The Погоня of great old Lithuania can be crushed, can be held, can be stopped. You fly forth to the infinite distance, outrunning the years in your chase. Who are those you pursue? What's the difference of the roads that you chose on your way? Belarus, maybe they left the prudence and the pursuit of your... Belarus, maybe they left the prudence in pursuit of your daughters and sons, who sold out, who betrayed you like Judas, who surrendered you and who renounced. Pierce of the hearts with the swords, with the missiles, never let them be strangers at will. Make their hearts feel the sorrow while missing the white stock flying over the mill. Dear country, the land of my fathers, this sharp pain won't be ever it is. You forgive, you accept like a mother, let your son give his life for you, please. The white horses fly forth, the white horses fly through the centennials, and the hoofs drum like thousand gunshots. The Погоня of great old Lithuania can be crushed, can be held, can be stopped. Maybe Lithuania, but the rhythm is quite cool, and all the words are quite simple to pronounce most of the time, so it has the same rhythm as Wait for Me, I'll Come to You. That's why it's not only good when you read it, but it's quite good when I read it aloud. Another poem is Spachina by Yanka Kupala. I started it one time ago. I translated half of the poem and then I returned to it, and I successfully finished it. So let's go. My great-grandfathers from the past bestowed on me the heritage that's like my mother's care lasts, no matter if I'm poor or rich. I see it in my fairy dreams, evoked by gurgling of the creek, by rustling of the fallen leaves, by creaking of the singed oak tree. And I recall it in my mind when I see that moss-covered fence, and when I hear that distant sound which follows that stock's mating dance. And that bellowing of the calves which graze the grass around the birch, and that crow's cry which spreads above the half-wrecked cemetery church. Within the day and through the night I do my volunteer patrol to check if my gem's still in sight, if it wasn't eaten by the drone. I carry it inside my heart, like that forever burning flame, illuminating my dark path, which leads me through my fears and pain. It dwells among my dreams and thoughts, and I have not once put it aside. My heritage is just the spot where I was born and lived and died. I think I can change to check if my gems still inside and was not eaten by the drone, because this will be more fluent to pronounce. Anyway, I have two more poems, and maybe they will be my last poems, because the translation takes too much time, and I want to spend it on my preparation for programming and for English itself. So another translation is Белеет парус одинокий by Lermontov, and yeah, I started it a long time ago as well. I managed to translate the first verse that consists of 4 lines, and then I couldn't find the words for the second part, but I just started with the end, and then somehow I found the necessary words. So this is the translation. The lonely sail shines white and wanders through fogs and mists of deep blue seas. Why does he look for those lands yonders? Why did he left that land of his? The thunder rose, the waves approach him, the headwind bends the mast of his. That mast of his. He neither looks for his good fortune, nor circumvents it by all means. Above him soars the golden palace, the azure kingdom lies beneath, but restless he looks for the tempest, as if the tempest carries peace. Well, again, when I pronounce it, when I read it aloud, it sounds very, very bad. But when you read it in your mind, it's really cool. And the last poem that I translated is from Kurgan by Yank Kupala. This is just one of the part of this poem, just 4 verses, which each of them contains 4 lines. So let's go. All the residents knew the Gusliar's Gusli well. His thought thinning pierced right through the essence. Pierced right. Okay. All the residents knew the Gusliar's Gusli well. His thought singing pierced right through to the essence. Lots of marvelous legends and strange tales dwell in the sites where his thought marked its presence. It's believed as he stepped forward and starts to play on his strings with his ruthless frank singing, then the sleep goes away, then the pain mitigates, and the aspens, the oaks stop the crinkling. Then the woods do not squeak, then the elk does not pass, and the nightingale pauses its warbles, meets the alders the stream, runs no making a fuss, and the roach's head floats under waters. In the marshes stand still the mermaids and the minks, no more shrill wailing cries of the plover. To the thought singing of the goslar's living strings, the fern flaunts its mysterious flower. Ooh, it was difficult to pronounce, even though I managed to translate it quite close to the original text. So let's check one more thing very quickly. So what? So this is my poems, and the next thing I'm going to do is to do something more practical, I think. More practical. This act of creativity is quite cool, but in the end, to speak English, well, I can't improve the speed of my speech very much, and I don't think I need to do it. But one of the obstacles that prevents me from going more fluently is the lack of necessary words. Sometimes I want to speak with the phrases that are quite natural in Russian. These phrases are quite natural in my everyday speech, but well, I never encountered them in English. I never thought about finding them in English, so to express them, I need to disassemble them into separate words. Then I need to understand the meaning behind them, and I need to find the construction in English that will convey the meaning behind these phrases, and it took some time. It takes some time. Well, and of course I can't say the words that I never used. So, for example, what? I try to read the career path texts, and at least to first to be able to pronounce the words correctly. The next stage is to know what these words mean, and then the final part is to learn these words and to be able to use them just by looking at them in some context, so that it could be visible that I understand the meaning behind these words and I can use them somewhere, not just passively observing them in the texts or actively reading them aloud in the texts. Well, I read some topics on police stuff, cooking, law. It was maybe a month ago about law. What else? Yeah, something about computers, and of course, what was firefighting and other stuff. It was not very impressive, but yeah, most of these words I know in Russian. I never use them because I never encounter them through my everyday life, but if I meet them somewhere, I can recognize them and use them correctly. So right now I'm going to go very quickly through the Firefighter first book, for example. I'm going to go through the vocabulary that is given in the table of this book, in the table content of this book, and I'll just go through these texts and create some of the small talks about each topic using some of the words the way I remember it from the texts. And the interesting thing is that the level of the first textbooks is considered to be A1, but maybe it's A1 for the profession, the particular profession. But for me, A1 is just very small, like the words containing consisting of only of one syllable, and really some of these words I know only thanks to watching Big Bang Theory and reading Harry Potter, and it's really not the level of A1. Anyway, in the first unit they talked about the fire. The fire can be, well, when you have the fuel and then you apply some fire to it, like you apply some spark to this fuel, and of course this fuel is within the air, and the air contains oxygen, so the process of combustion takes place, and the combustion itself, or maybe burning itself, includes three mandatory elements: oxygen, heat, and the fuel. And when the first spark is applied to the fuel gets the heat from the spark and the oxygen from the air. So all three conditions are met, and now the burning begins, the combustion. I didn't translate the word. Well, I translated the word combustion, and it looks for me like burning, so I can use them interchangeably. So combustion begins, and this fire that already started, it is the source of heat now for the rest of the fuel, and this fire ignites the rest of the fuel, and then this fuel uses the oxygen from the air, and together they continue this process of burning, of combustion. And this process won't stop until maybe one of the elements stops to be supplied to this process. Yeah, for example, if the heat will go away, or the fuel will be used completely, or there won't be any oxygen in the atmosphere. So the firefighters use the foams, the stuff that creates the layer around the fuel, and this layer kind of separates the fuel from the oxygen. So without oxygen, the fire actually stops. So, and this is the first unit. In the second unit, they discuss different types of fire, like it can be electrical fire when the electrons move through the conductor very quickly and they hit the conductor. I don't know the details, like it may be nuclear fire, I don't know, chemical fire from some chemical reactions, or yeah, when like when you combine two substances together and the chemical reaction takes place and lots of heat is produced, then this heat can create can ignite some flammable material, and with the help of oxygen in the air, the fire can start in the laboratory. And of course, the mechanical fire, maybe the most famous example of the mechanical the fire that starts because of some mechanical reason or mechanical cause, when you take the wooden stick, and you start to rotate it between your palms very quickly, and the end of the stick is put into some small I don't know, not the hole, but some small pit inside the maybe inside the maybe stone or any other platform, and you put some dry branches or grass in this small pit, and when you rotate the stick between your palms, this physical friction between the end of the stick and the bottom of this pit creates heat, and heat plus oxygen can ignite the fuel, which is the dry grass inside this pit. Okay, next, traits of a firefighter. They describe different adjectives and nouns that again describe the person who can be a good firefighter, because firefighters should work in teams, they should be reliable, they should protect each other, they should be quite intelligent, they need to solve lots of problems, something like the way to enter the building, the way to evacuate the person out of the burning building, and so on. Of course, the firefighter is courageous, to fight with the fire. And other stuff, I can't really find the usage for these words in the context. He should be fit and flexible, because he needs to carry heavy things like the eggs and other stuff, and sometimes he need to carry out of the building, to carry the not witness but victim. He needs to carry the victim out of the burning building, and for this he should be physically fit. Next, firefighters play different roles. Like fire investigator, the person who goes to the building after the fire was put out, and he investigates the possible sources of the fire, whether it was the arson or the fire was created by some random problem, like the issue with the electrical wire, something like that. Yeah, paramedics should apply the first aid to the rescued person. Rescue specialists rescue the people from the building. Of course, there should be the firefighter himself, who fights with the fire burning inside the building. The technician should, I think, the technician should yes. The technician should check the state of the cars, of the equipment, and to repair if all the stuff needs some repairment. Yeah, of course, there is a telecommunicator, the person who gets the calls from the victims of the fire, and then navigates the firefighters to the building which is on fire and other stuff. Okay, then there are two units about some type of department. Yeah, it's not really an interesting stuff for me, because it's the way the teams of firefighters are organized. Like several firefighters compose some particular unit, then these units compose larger units, and so on. And there should be an officer who commands each of these units, and then the chief officer who commands the all firefighters inside the firefighter station. Yeah, and it was about the division of firefighters teams into bigger or smaller teams. But of course there are the units that corresponds, that relates to the equipment, to the way the firefighters fight the fires. For example, in the cities, the most common way to do this stuff is by driving the car and to the building, and then using the water to put down the fire. But in the country areas, for example, it's more convenient to fight the fire from the helicopter by applying lots of water on the area where this fire exists, somewhere maybe on the part of the field or on the part of the forest, and other stuff. In the seventh unit, they discuss the personal equipment, like helmet, gloves, goggles, coat, earplugs, trousers, boots, and even hood, and all this stuff. Well, right now I know all these words, so they could be from the A1 level. Then the respiratory protection, some special terms about the mask that you put on your head, on your face, to breathe inside the burning building, to protect your lungs so that you don't inhale the carbon dioxide, or so that you don't burn your face, for example. When they talk about the tools in Unit 9, they just again give the names of different equipment, like handsaw, shovel, bolt cutter. All this stuff is necessary. Power saw, for example, to get inside the burning building, then to get to the person who can be caught somewhere inside the building, and then to get out of the house. And of course, later they create the holes in the walls and in the roof to check the hidden fire that can be still there, and later this fire can produce the second fire. So they try to destroy these small sources of the potential second fire. And they discuss the types of the buildings. There are different types of the buildings that can be set on fire. The barn or just a house can be burning in the country area. Some offices, skyscrapers, warehouses, factories, hotels, garages can burn in the city. Just the enumeration of the terms for different types of buildings. And of course, there is the unit that discusses different parts of the building, like everything: walls, attic, ceiling, floors, all the stuff, windows, all the stuff was given in the context of the damage that the firefighters applied towards the building to get into it, and then to check the building for the hidden fire after the main fire was fought successfully. The measurements, just the technical things that each firefighter should know. kilogram, kilometers, pascals, foot mile, all this stuff is necessary when they discuss different strategies about the firefighting, and of course the two scales, degrees Celsius and degrees Fahrenheit, because you know, when you're a firefighter, you can't describe your work without saying about the temperatures. And because there are two different type of the scales, then you need to know how to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit and back. Yeah, when you are a firefighter, and this is the lesson unit 13, when you are a firefighter, you can encounter different hazards, like, yeah, for example, the beam can fall from the ceiling and strike the firefighter because the beam became loose during the fire. Of course, firefighter can experience burns on his or her skin. If the firefighter stays too long inside the burning building, then he can have the risk of asphyxiation because of the excess amount of carbon dioxide in the air. And if the firefighter works too hard, he can experience overexertion. Yes, and of course the ultimate hazard is the death. So to protect the firefighters from these types of hazards, there were developed different safety procedures. Proactive safety training, because yeah. So yes, something about safety triad, like I don't know, equipment, training, and the personnel. And equipment can be produced, the training can be applied, I think, training, but the personnel itself can be the weakest link, the bottleneck, if the personnel does not have the necessary traits, like staying vigilant all the time when they investigate the fireplace, for example. And the last 15th unit about the safety procedures. This unit tells about the safety from the perspective of the officers who command the units, like the officer gives the order to the firefighters and they report back, or when he says to retreat, all the team flew. Okay, flee. Maybe flee out of the building. Okay. And of course, when you walk against the fire, you need to have a buddy who will protect you in the building, who will back up you inside the building. Wow, so I walked through all the 15 units, not the real texts, but the summaries that were given, that are given in the beginning of each book. And because I listened to the audios for this story, and because I read the books, I kind of recalled the stuff that I read while I walked through all these units. It's not very difficult. Some units are quite too specific, so I don't need to know these details, but some of them are quite universal, and every person should know this stuff about firefighting, even though we are not the firefighters themselves. So it was really difficult to read this, to go through this stuff. And right now I check the second book, which corresponds to level A2, and to the third book. And the difficulty behind this stuff is the specific of this vocabulary. Really specific. Most of the words is quite familiar to me, but in any case, I'm going to, without trying to learn this stuff by heart, because most of the stuff is really specific for the area, I can say that if I know the particular area where I need to speak English, and when I can read some basic books, maybe 100 pages, which is specific to this particular area, I can say that after several attempts, I can speak quite fluently using all this vocabulary. But at least I know most of the words in the passive way. I can use them, I can read them aloud, and I can kind of use them in the context. And during this week I watched the compilers, the lecture analyzer, and the parser, but it was only the theory without any programming assignments, and even from this theory I really couldn't say anything. It's too abstract for me. I can't say anything because first I need to find these assignments, then perform them a couple of times the way I did with my laboratory box in the university, and then I can return to the theory and explain the theory, knowing how I can implement it in the practice. So I'm going to listen to compiler stuff in the future, but at some point I will start my assignments. I will try to program some elements, some stages of this compiler stuff. I'm not going to go into talking about programming right now because I talked a lot, but at some point I'm going to describe the code, the Swift code, which I write for CodeWars exercises. For example, I opened some function from the level 6 from this exercises that I wrote almost 2 years ago. And well, if I showed this text on my YouTube channel and described what we have in this function, it would sound something like this. Func means the reserved word. Func means the beginning. Func marks the beginning of the function. Then the name of the function goes. I named it comp. It's obvious that this function compares two things. In the parentheses, we see two values, a and b, and the types of these two values: arrays which contain integers, and we see underscore in front of each name of the parameter. This way, when we call the function, we don't need to write external names of the parameters. We can just put two variables that contain the arrays, because this function is quite simple. And the dash plus greater sign means that after this arrow we see the type of the return parameter, which is bool. So from the declaration of the function, we can tell that it takes two parameters, two arrays of integers, and then it returns some verdict like true or false. And of course, from the name of the function, we can say that we compare these two arrays. And in the body of the function, which has only one line, we can say that we use this function style, which is available in Swift. So we apply we apply map function to each element, to the first array, and what it does, it takes each of the elements and multiplies each element by itself. So we have all the elements of the array squared, then we sort the array. We put all the elements of the array in some order, because the elements are integers. Then this will be the order where the numbers ascend, like 0, 1, 2, and so on, from the smallest to the largest, and we compare this sorted array of squared elements to the sorted B array, and then we return the result, like whether, and from this line I can formulate the task. The task was like write a function that takes two arrays containing integers and returns the verdict about whether the second array contains all the elements of the first array squared. Yeah, and we sort both of the arrays because all the elements can be put in random order, so the arrays are not necessarily ordered. Okay, I think it's not a very bad way to practice my English and at the same time practice my programming skills, recall my Swift experience, and then go through the terminology of the programming language. And I think for the next video I will continue this practice with the programming, and for now I am going to stop this video. I think I recorded more than 50 minutes right now, so that's alright for one day.